Welcome back. After the Art of Joy season 1, I was really impressed by the uh all the scenes I've just seen, and there is not a single thing that just uh you know simple or something uh, similar to what I've seen before. And with this being said, I think this TV show deserves just a whole stream just dedicated to the Art of Joy. And recently, we've been talking a lot about different, like history based TV shows like Kareem, The Buccaneers, and more. But this TV show specifically covers way more problems and psychological and mental, physical, a lot of problems. And at some point you realize that you are watching something and you don't even know how to take it, because it feels more like really straightforward and sometimes really brutal narrative, because you see a little Modesta, the main character, just burned her whole family, including her mother and disabled sister, and living in the rural Sicily at that period. It's probably the most common thing when you were mistreated by your family because you are a woman, you have no real future in that environment. And when she was sent to convent, we have some footage from the other movie, which is horror, some type of movie, but it's just for example. When she was sent to convent, she was given the other life, or she was given her new life under Mother Leonora's control, because she was really controlling, and she was the mother superior of that chapel or whatever. So they were spending a lot of time, and she discovered and learned a lot of things, helps with Mother Leonora's help. And this first part of season 1, The Art of Joy, specifically episode 1 and episode 2, those two episodes, they felt so different because of how they were so connected, how they were spending that time together, and they really found the producers and the actresses, they found this connection, and it feels really sincere. So we have this perfect chemistry, even though they have the huge age gap. It was never a real problem for me, because I was just focusing so much on the work of the camera and how it's all just flowing from one scene to another, and how the narrative is quite unique, you know. So this is what I really appreciated. And after we've seen Modesta was punished for her feelings for Mother Leonora, I've told you that that wasn't really fair for Modesta being punished for someone else's sin, because she didn't do anything wrong in the first place, but she was punished for the other wrongdoing. Basically, Mother Leonora, she wasn't able to accept her dark side of her character. This is why she did what she did. She basically just she shifted all the bad things on the Modesta, and basically she tried to be like as saint as she thought she was, but she wasn't really that saint, because after that situation we've got a lot of examples when we can see that nobody at that place really was that saint, or nobody was really purely like, you know, a god or like a good character. Every character has like bad side and good side, and this is what I like. When you see different sides of the same character, you can just better empathize with every character, because every character is as bad and as good as the other character. So there is no bad or good characters. There is only one story that tells us that you can be pursuing your desires, but you can be still doing it in the conservative way, or you can be, you know, going after everything like straightforwardly and being punished for what are you doing, because there's always like I've heard that there is no joy without guilty conscience, that I've heard from the other TV show Karem, something like that, you know. So there is really no joy without guilty conscience, and this is why this is like the main focus of this story, and basically of the novel that was reading long ago, and everything perfectly aligns with the writer of this novel, because the writer of this novel basically described her life, her experiences, but in different approaches, you know. She tried to make her like life story being put in this Art of Joy novel, but we can see how really when you experienced something, how really you can just be a part of your story, and how you can just connect your real life with your fiction character. And everything really has changed ever since Modesta was sent to the Gaia. This is the other character basically who is like a sister of Leonora, and after Leonora died, everybody thought that was just the accident, and nobody really, got to know ever what happened to Mother Leonora. So there is like this first part at Monastery, and after this part and your experience at Monastery, the TV show feels slightly different at this point when she was sent to serve at Princess Gaia's place, and she was really just surprised that there is no really rules applies at this place, because she was really allowed to do whatever she wants, but she tried to help Gaia, Princess Gaia, with a lot of things, including calming down her disabled son or something like, she was doing everything at this place and trying to be useful, and she found this connection with oh my god, I forgot just her name, Beatrice. She found this connection, and Beatrice was basically Leonora's daughter. So we have this new love for Modesta, but it's not completely like as it was with Leonora, because Leonora was basically her first like real, not biological, but real mother, like in terms of the soul connection. Like they were connected by their souls, like they were really connected. And after that situation happened to Leonora, there should be someone else to pursue love with, and it turns out to be this Beatrice, the daughter of Leonora. And basically, since Modesta was behind the death of Leonora, Beatrice's mother, it wasn't that simple to be around Beatrice, because that you just killed her mother, and here is just your daughter trying to hit on you. At this point, we can even see she sees in this mirror, she sees the Leonora mother. She's basically has a lot of visions throughout the TV show. Even after Leonora died, she has multiple visions, and it's kind of giving like horror movie vibes, because I have put this movie specifically because this is what I found when I was trying to add something similar. And this scene specifically with Mirror, and how she first she sees Leonora, and then she sees her on the bed, and she was given those visions multiple times, and there was kind of ghost of Leonora still trying to be around Modesta, because the connection was not ended. Even though Leonora died, there still was the same affection that Modesta was under. And she didn't really manage to like immediately find that connection with Beatrice, because Beatrice was too young for her, because Modesta was way too experienced with all happened to her life and everything that happened in Monastery. So they finally found that connection, and after that, of course, the separation between two of them was really difficult, because now you have to leave this place because you were sent just to help a couple of weeks or something, like 1 week stay, and then you have to leave and go back to Monastery. But she wasn't really willing to go back to Monastery. And at this point they found like solution for Modesta to stay at Gaia's place. And basically when she found out that she has some knowledge how to count, and Modesta was pretty educated person because of the monastery, and Madre Leonora taught her a lot of things including counting. And at this point they found her like to be useful at managing things with peasant salaries. All the peasant salaries, wages comes through the princess Gaia. She's basically ruling the whole, like, the state or something like this. And this area under her, let's say, control, or at least she has some type of control of people that working at that area, farmers, all type of workers, and she's trying to teach her how to treat, how to administer things, and at the same time she is still helping her son to basically make him appropriate, because now she is basically the only person who can be around him. And Gaia's son, basically Hippolyta, is like, he has some type of syndrome, like, I don't know exactly, but he's not completely like disabled. He's conscious, he can really think adequately, he can be that person, but he needs someone be around him to be that person, normal, that people would accept. At this point, that was the only solution to stay at that place, and since she was only given a couple of extra weeks to stay as an accountant for Gaia, so she can help still with some type of work, but to stay permanently with Beatrice and to be still useful, she was offered to marry her Gaia's son Hippolyta, what is basically like would have been unacceptable for any other person, but for Modesta it was looking more like a privilege. And Gaia told her, like, this is a privilege, and Modesta just took that offer and she accepted to marry Gaia's son. And shortly after, that was, I think, controversial encountering with one of the Gaia's worker, and there was probably something that people wouldn't really understand, like the purpose of this character, because you cannot blame the series. The thing you should be blaming is the source, right? Like the original, the novel. That was written there. There is no reason to hate on the TV show for putting something like this. Like this older man with Modesta looks not really appealing, and I found it terrible. In the first place, I didn't really like how they put this, and it felt a little unnecessary. And I was like thinking that I would have been completely okay if he wasn't there, if they didn't put that romance or something. But since it was in the original, in the novel, I'm okay with this either, because you cannot go against the original, or you cannot just, make up things that wasn't in the novel. But I noticed that the scenes they were putting in this TV show, basically somehow it's not completely aligned with the original source, the novel. And they tried to put some extra stuff, but not completely something that would change the storyline. But they definitely did something extra at this point, because you're doing basically something that a lot of people would never fact check or would never go and compare to original. A lot of people just would watch this and then forget it, or just remember this as the series, not something like they would go and read the novel, And in the novel there was some type of continuation that this TV show didn't cover, and this TV show basically stopped at the point where the original, the novel, didn't, because there was a lot of things happened after events of this TV show. And I think this is gonna be either season 1 of this TV show, or they just prefer to stay this way and never make those parts from original. But they covered something like Modesta becomes pregnant with a child, and this was the huge problem for her, because Gaia basically, she wrote in a will that nobody with children can get anything from her after she dies. And if Modesta wants to be legitimate heir of Gaia's wealth, she needs basically give up on her children, on the one that she is pregnant with. And this was the main struggle for Modesta since she got out of the monastery, because that was the first real problem after Monastery, after death of Mother Leonora and so on. And at this point, all the events happen to be leading to this part when some type of disease just, embraced Italy. And I don't know if whole Italy or just a part of it, but they were infected, and specifically Gaia, Princess Gaia, was infected by that disease. And probably for Modesta, that was looking as an opportunity to take on Gaia's wealth without being forced to, giving up on her child. And she could still have that child and have all the wealth, all the titles and everything. But she wasn't really interested in the money or in the title in the first place. She was more interested in becoming that independent person and find a place where nobody could, dictate her what she have to do or something. Like, she needs to be that independent. Finally, she managed to find the way she can be the only one legitimate heir of that will, of that wealth of Gaia. And all the things, money, title, all type of things, now under Modesta's name. She's the only one. And after Gaia's death, Modesta and Beatrice, they were basically like still like in love or something, but there wasn't really anything that, for Modesta, there wasn't really anything that would, keep her at this place or keep her being like a part of this place, because she got everything. So now she can leave basically and find a new life and be with Beatrice and her newborn son, and she can be wherever she wants basically. But Beatrice basically got nothing, but still she remains as a loved one of Modesta. So they have like next page of their life, a new life. And after that, there is nothing really for like season 2 left, because I think it doesn't just need season 2, because this is the perfect ending. At this point we can see the two of them just found their way out of that place, and they finally can get the future they just imagined. Be together or stay somewhere else. But in the novel we can read the other part that is not covered by this TV show. And basically, a lot of things happened with Beatrice and Modesta after they got out of the Gaia's place. They basically found themselves like in new house, and they just fell in love with a doctor. There was some doctor, and Beatrice even got pregnant from that doctor, but Modesta was still like pursuing her goals. She didn't really manage to be with someone that long, and she even got jailed for 5 years, and that wasn't covered in this TV show again, but that was in the original, in the novel. She got imprisoned, and she found a new loved one in the prison because she was spending the whole 5 years. She was basically falling in love with one of her inmates, and that was a woman. And at this point happened that when she came back from the prison, she found that everybody at her house, at her place, was either married or just having another child or just being pregnant. A lot of things happened when she was in prison. And in the novel, all that in the part four of the Art of Joy, and you can find all the things in that part 4. And there was even the death of Beatrice's character, because she died after her husband died, and Modesta basically, she found herself like with another person. There was like multiple like lovers for Modesta throughout the novel. She was like in love with Beatrice. She was in love with the father of her son. She was basically in love with her son's father's son. So a lot of different like type of romances, and all that can be covered in season 2 if it's gonna be season 2. And how she ended up working at some type of shop or something, like she was basically like a writer or something, because she was basically helping with some type of work related to publishing things and so on, and if it's gonna be season 2, I don't think it's really necessary. But still, since this TV show is really like decent, they can make it same level, you know, and same quality TV show, and they can even drag it out to season 2, season 3, you know, but still I would rather just stop it at this point, because now it's almost perfect, and there is no reason for season 2, in my opinion. With that being said, I still figuring out a lot of different events from this TV show, and I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So if I miss something, you can just comment or leave your opinion. You try to be like open, and if you think you have something to share, you can put this in the comment section. But I mostly covered everything I read on the open sources and from the original description of the novel, and multiple times I was trying to connect the autobiography of the writer of this novel with the TV show. But it's really difficult to connect them because they were basically made like in different like centuries, and there is no like real connection you can make, you know. And even though the writer described your life, your experiences, and she was trying to like, you know, make all the characters based on the people she met in your life, you cannot really like find that direct connection, and you cannot really draw that, you know, line between the novel and the TV show. Not the novel, but the biography of the author, the writer of this. So, and if you want to try, you can still find the writer and see your experience. It's pretty similar, but again, it's not like something, you know, you're gonna be interested in, because basically your life was something like similar to Modesta's life, but since Modesta is the only person who is basically made up, it's a fictional character, you just, you know, sympathize with Modesta at that level of fiction of the tale. You cannot really just go and, you know, check something because it wasn't the real like experience. It was just made up story. But if you want to make some, you know, type of connections, the only way you can do that is by reading the biography of the writer. And the novel, of course. And this way you can, find way more information than the TV show shows. Because the TV show itself is beautiful, but it's still probably lacking some type of context, and probably some moments could have been way more explained in some ways. And when you have the real history behind the script, and when your script based on the characters like Napoleon we discussed in the recent streams, it's way more easy to be informative because you have all the information from the sources, and you have all the story, you have all the biography of the character that really existed. And there is nothing there is nothing that you can make up. There is all the information and you just take it. But with this TV show, it works differently. It's like you watching something and it feels like it really has some historical roots, It feels like it's somehow connected to what Italy experienced during the war, and the wartime was probably the only one thing that was in common for both the novel and the history of Italy, because those things like wartime and being a woman in that Italy at that point, those things were commonalities that you can take from novel, and you can say that that really happened, and this way people can really just re-experience what happened in Italy at that period, and I probably personally I needed more connection to real history of Italy, or something more depth of wartime Italy, because they only shown some type of wartime period and after war ended. And after war ended, they only covered one scene, and that scene was dedicated to people just trying to celebrate the ending of the war. But that wasn't really enough for me, to feel that wartime Italy, because for me it needs to be characters has some type of storyline, and he was sent to war, and we can see how he's doing after the war. We just needed that character. And in the novel, there were multiple characters perfectly described, with all their lives changed after war. And in the novel, there was like the real, affection, the real consequences of the war. But in this TV show, it feels a little bit off, because we cannot see no consequences. We only can see the disease coming from nowhere, probably from other state or something, because they called it like some type of Spanish disease, and it's infecting everyone who touches things that was touched by the infected person, And during that disease, 2 episodes just were dedicated to Gaia was just infected, and she was spending a lot of time just recovering or just trying to fight the disease. And I think we could have got 2 more episodes dedicated to not pre-war, but before war ended. We could have got 2 episodes or something, and those 2 would have covered a lot of things that the novel covered, and with extra episodes we would get a lot of things that happened before this TV show, because now it just needs continuation, and there is no real continuation, because we don't really know if there is part 2 or something. But just make it more episodes, like 8, 7 or something, not just 5 or 6, and make it dedicated to many things, not only your childhood, because this TV show covering your childhood, this is episode 1, 2, your adulthood, this is all the period from season 1, episode 3, until the ending. And the huge part covering the disease, and it would have been way more interesting to watch something war related instead of just a woman just infected by disease, because 2 episodes just showing nothing basically. So at this point, I want to stop the stream because there is nothing to cover anymore, and I want to just be informative. If you still think that this TV show needs continuation, leave a comment with what type of continuation you want to see from the part 2, because in the novel there was really no happy ending for a lot of characters, including Beatrice, including Modesta herself, but she managed to at least not to die in the first place. She was still alive when Beatrice died. Modesta was the only person who managed to survive, you know. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you later with another TV show. And there was the Art of Joy stream